Greetings, it's Catherine here from Moonstarlodge, celebrating 41 years of Indigenous education, art, and spirituality. And we have a series of classes coming up. After 3 years of COVID, we're finally able to resume classes. So one of the most interesting ones that I enjoy teaching is the Tarot and Oracle Cartomancy Divination class. And that's going to run on 6 Tuesday evenings from May 16th until June 20th. And it's running from 7 p.m. until approximately 9 p.m. I plan to teach until about 8:30, and then we'll deal with any questions and things that need to be discussed from that night's lesson. And so this is going to be recorded as well, and it's going to be put up on our Ko-fi platform, or coffee platform, I should say, in the summer. But in the meantime, this is an opportunity for the new through not advanced, but sort of moderately adept, that's a good word, moderately adept tarot practitioner. So what is it that we're going to start? Well, we're going to start with the basics, and we're going to look at why somebody would want to utilize tarot. Basically, from my perspective, when I started with tarot in the 70s and going to university, I was a psychology and parapsychology student. And so at the time, Carl Jung, was a big deal, and his concepts in archetypes, personalities, the subconscious, and things which motivate us to behave the way we do, including our shadow aspect of self. So I dove right into that whole genre and utilized and understood tarot from the perspective of self-work. And so analyzing issues, spiritual development within the self, coming to terms with shadow aspects. And shadow isn't negative, it's just stuck parts of us that cause us to act out, and perhaps, or the shadow aspects act out and cause us to make choices that are perhaps not entirely in our best interest. So when I understood the connection between psychology and the tarot, I was hooked. And that started me on a journey in 1974 of amassing a curated collection which now exceeds 1,500 decks and resource books, very old resource books. I found that for me, I already was a practicing psychic. I went through university in parapsychology, and in postgraduate times became a spiritualist minister, because that was the closest thing I could get to our indigenous work with ancestors and spirits. So I trained extensively for 11 years in that regard, and then I transferred my license to the Indigenous community when that became legal in Canada after 1992. And I continued with 11 years of shamanic training, and my practice has included all these variables ever since. And tarot has been a big part of my clinical practice. Also, you may have been following my weekly collective videos on YouTube, which we provided over the period of the pandemic, just to keep in touch with our community. So in this class, we're going to talk about how one learns the tarot, the three basic kinds of tarot. We have the Rider-Waite-Smith, We have the Tarot of Marseille. We have the Thoth. And that's enough for our beginning class. But basically, we're going to be working most initially with the Rider-Waite-Smith, and then looking how one compares the three of them. And we're going to do this gently and easily, but I hope with some epiphany aspects so that it makes it not so difficult to learn. There are consistencies across the three types. It's deciding what, the best type is for you. We will look at what happens sometimes with the pop culture around tarot, which is this kind of ooga booga thing. I mean, when I was growing up, I watched the old Lon Chaney werewolf movies, and I was just captivated by the actress Maria Uspenskaya, who was a gypsy Romany character, and revealing with her crystal ball and her tarot cards the fate of the character in the movie. I've done incredible research over the last almost 50 years now in terms of finding the history, because I find that if we don't know the history of something, we tend to repeat the mistakes. And so I've made it an intellectual process to find all the background of each of the categories, whether it's Rider-Waite-Smith or the Thoth, which I understand in Egypt is pronounced Tote, and the Marseille, which has a rich, rich heritage. A lot of professional readers prefer to read with Marseille because although they're a pip deck, you're not inhibited or limited to the picture that's on the card. And that's a mistake that new tarot readers make. So the emphasis of this class is not about teaching you how to read for others at first. It's about understanding the beauty and the flow, the archetypes, the intellectual work that's involved in path working, how we do path working, which is literally to embed ourselves and do a little dreamtime journey with the images we do see on the cards. I have developed over the past almost 50 years ways, learning modules that make the understanding of tarot and the suits at the major arcana and the minor arcana, how we make that easily accessible through numerology, understanding that, and keywords and phrases, and expanding those keywords and phrases to really see that there's not huge differences among the three types, major three types of cards. Anyway, it's $200 for the class. You will be provided with a binder for the copious notes and journal sheets, the handouts. It's always a wonderful class when I have the opportunity to teach tarot, because I watch people light up with the epiphanies. We're going to talk about crystals. We're going to talk about how you care for your tarot. We're going to get rid of all the pop culture kind of mythology, the gatekeeping practices that say you must do this and must do that. Most of that is nonsense. We'll talk about how you get a nice selection of decks to work with, pairing tarot with oracle for auxiliary cards, clarifiers we call them. So I hope you will join me. The class is about 3/4 full, so we have an opportunity to take on 2 or 3 more people. And if you're interested, get in touch right away. Brian will have in the bottom of this video the contact information. So miigwech, thank you, and hope to see you soon with tarot cards in hand. I might even wear my skeleton bandana just for fun. All right. Aho.